Primal Chaos.
G'day, Primal Chaos here. I'm going to try to be less, hey everybody, and more like, hey, how you doing? I want to be more interpersonal. I'm trying to change the way I do things a little bit to be more engaging with you, the viewer. So welcome to my studio, Primal Chaos. So today we're doing Blood and Glitter. This is going to be an interesting one because I've done them before, and every time I've done them, a video of theirs, they tend to really push the limits of you know, what they're capable of as far as switching things up, pushing boundaries, changing the standard of who they are and what they're doing. And, you know, the first video I reacted to, I was really impressed with their compositional skills as far as like, you know, doing elements in 5/4 and, you know, having interesting instruments and things like that. And then I did leave you hate in the comments, and that was a little bit more straight down the line musically, but they were really pushing the boundaries with, you know, reacting to the reality of who they are and what they're doing, and how it affects, you know, how the zeitgeist affects them, and pushing back against the negativity and stuff, which I think is fantastic. And so this one, I don't know what it's going to be. However, I do know that it's currently representing Germany for Eurovision. And I mean, I don't know when this video is going to come out, but however it plays out, that in and of itself is interesting because Eurovision has a unique style of music, typically. Like, it seems like a lot of times acts lean a little bit more into the cheesy and the big anthemic songs, which is really, in and of itself, is interesting as well. It's, you know, that's not a bad place to be as far as just writing cool and engaging songs. And, you know, they have to represent the country they're coming from at the same time as well. So, you know, this will be quite interesting. I'm really keen to jump into it. But before I do, I just want to say this video today is brought to you by Enchroma Glasses. Enchroma make colorblind glasses for people like myself who struggle to see the world the same way as everyone else. I have a pair. I find them fantastic. In fact, I have two pairs. And they've really changed the way I interpret color in the world. And so if you're colorblind or you know someone who is, click the link in the description. It'll take you to their website and you can do a free eye test, find out what sort of deficiency you have, and maybe pick up some glasses while you're there. I fully endorse them. I think they're fantastic, and I've had nothing but good experiences with them. And also, if you go to primalchaos.com, that's my merch site. Currently, I'm having a look at this hoodie I've got going on. It's got kind of like this cool 70s prog logo thing here. It's kind of a little bit sort of quasi-spiritual and a bit kitsch. And it turned out really good. I got a sample one. What I would say, though, is if you're a larger guy, like I'm 6 foot tall and fairly heavy, I found the 2XL to be, it fits, but it's a little snug. So just keep that in mind when you're ordering. But yeah, they're fantastic. I love the way that this turned out. So let's jump straight in. This is called Blood and Glitter by Lord of the Lost. Here we go.
Blood and glitter, sweet
Straight
and
into it.
bitter. We're so happy we could die. Blood and glitter.
All right. Okay. That was a cool little effect.
What we are is but a choice. A promise
cool.
to ourselves. We are free to break and change. Never forget to let it go.
Okay, well.
So that no need to know whether above or below. We are all from the same blood. Blood and glitter, sweet and
Okay.
bitter.
Taking it
We're
down.
so happy we could die. Blood and glitter.
Wow, okay.
Bitter. We're so happy we could die. Blood and glitter, Satan sinner. We do fall before we rise. Now go, let your blood flow. With broken wings we learn to fly. We are blood and glitter. Keep your head up.
Okay, before we get into the next part, I got so much to talk about. That's super interesting. Remember, did I mention earlier, something about like the compositionally, I always found them really interesting. I'm trying to remember the name of the first song I did, but it was completely different aesthetically and everything. But what impressed me was they went into a part that was in 5/4 and it just felt effortless and really interesting. While this song sounds like it's pretty straight down the line compositionally, what the challenge here is their arrangement is really interesting and unique because it's not following the set precedent that you would expect from a like a pop song or a Euro trash kind of synth pop 80s song, which is the kind of vibe they're going for. You know, definitely throughout the verse, you got that sort of like almost like Spandau Ballet kind of posturing, kind of 80s singer, you know, sort of thing. But because this song has to have such a big impact, I mean, I'm not sure if they wrote this for Eurovision or if it's just a happy accident, but let's assume that they composed this song with that in mind. It's perfect because the hardest thing with writing a song is getting to the hook quick enough that people don't lose interest. And if you look at the structure of just the first 1 minute and 23 seconds of this song, it's kind of chaotic. You know, you start off with almost a solo vocal.
Blood and glitter, sweet and bitter.
And then immediately you switch that up with
Blood and glitter.
all right, now we know what to expect. We're expecting something high energy with some aggressive vocals and stuff like that. But then immediately it drops back, you know, goes super synth wavy kind of 80s. And then drops down to, like I said,
A choice, a promise to ourselves.
that pure 80s aesthetic kind of synth wavy sort of thing. But they're still pumping in some of that energy, like dun hits and things that make it so it doesn't feel super cheesy 80s, you know? And then you got this quick rap bit, which is strange, you know? But like even through those parts, all of the lines are almost like sound bites. They're kind of anthemic. They're not getting too deep in the weeds with lyrics. They're just, you know, writing lines that kind of are almost like earworms that click into your mind because they're not super challenging, but they're kind of beautiful in their simplicity, right? They're not pushing the line too hard because they want it to be a pop song. And then this is a beautiful, almost musical theater moment, right? But then we're back into the, you know, Rammstein-y kind of big bombastic German metal rock sort of thing that's still kind of poppy. And the hook is great. The line's simple, blood and glitter, da, 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 we were so happy we could die. Is almost Cure-esque. It's like the Cure. Simple lines, dark melodies over, you know, relatively major music. You know, it's pretty happy sounding, but somehow there's a melancholy in there, you know? Some space age scratchy sort of sounds.
Keep your head up in the clouds. We're 2 feet on the ground.
It almost sounds like a middle eight rather than a verse.
So make it count. Never forget that it go. That's all there's no need to know. Whether above or below. We are all from the same blood. Blood and glitter, sweet and bitter. We're so happy we could die. Blood and glitter, Satan sinner. We do fall before.
As good as this looks, I'm just going to put it out there. If anybody who's a video clip producer or a band doing a music video, it seems like a good idea at the time, but putting like raining foil in your music video is the quickest way to make it look like absolute trash when you're streaming it off YouTube. You can just see like, because the visual algorithm can't keep up with it, and you just get noise, you know. But it looks glitzy, it looks glamorous. I get what they were going for, but I've seen them do this at live concerts too, and your beautiful 4K image just turns into noise, you know. But that's my little pet grievance. So far, that's the only problem I'm finding with this whole thing. So, be that as it may, here we go. It does look good though.
We do fall before we rise. Now go, let your blood flow. With broken wings we learn to fly. We are blood and glitter.
Wow, okay. That's some intense imagery right there.
Let your blood flow. Blood and glitter, sweet and bitter.
Let's bring the drama back in. I like it.
Blood and glitter, sweet and bitter. We're so happy we could die. Blood and glitter,
already singing along. It's a hit.
We learn to fly. We are blood and glitter. Blood and glitter.
Oh, we're not done. There had to be at least just 2 inches of butt crack. Now that looks striking. How good is that? That's a really cool image. Oh, these synth lines are cool, man. That's wild. All right, sorry about that. The camera blew out for a second there. But yeah, what I wanted to say was, you know, this is such a great example of a song, to me, like from an outsider looking in anyway, it definitely seems to represent Germany from the perspective of, you know, popular metal and stuff like that. In that, well, first of all, it couldn't be better at demonstrating the versatility of the band. But it leans into, you know, how, like a lot of times German bands have a little bit of that skeeziness to them as part of the culture of rock and metal there. They're a little sleazy, it's a little sexualized and stuff. Rammstein's really good at doing that sort of stuff as well. That sort of fits here. You've got the homage to more extreme German metal with the screaming parts and the more driven parts. But also, you know, there's that weird sort of stoic kind of vocal of, like, you know, it's almost like anthemic chanting. Da 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 da. It sounds like propaganda music. You know, I find that in Rammstein. I love it when bands aren't afraid, in metal and rock and stuff particularly, to sing low. You know, because we went through that whole hair metal phase that seemed to set the zeitgeist of just, or, you know, set the standard of everything has to be really high. And then, of course, you've got, like, you know, growling and stuff like that. So things have now become more, but singing low like this when you're, you know, it's more of like, it's a little bit different, and I like it. I really think that it definitely has a place. But they've got a lot of that sort of Euro trash 80s sort of sentiment to it as well. You know, and those beautiful sort of piano breakdowns and things like that give the vocal time to breathe. It just is so versatile. It's a great song. And, you know, it's almost like with an institution like Eurovision, you know, your first instinct might be, oh, it's a little aggressive. And, you know, the video clip has all the blood raining down and, you know, the concept of blood and glitter, you know. But then again, you got to remember that, like, you know, I think, did Maneskin win? And they're kind of a little skeezy as well, you know. And then you've got Lordi won a couple of years ago as well, you know. So they're not afraid to push the boundaries and have something a little bit more on the side of metal. Because I know, see, it's strange. In Australia, I've mentioned this before, in Australia, we obviously have a metal community and we have, you know, things like progressive rock and things like that have a place here, but not to the level they do overseas in America and in Europe. And a lot of those old 80s bands that are staple radio play, you know, in other countries, they don't really get a look in here, right? So, you know, for me looking into it from the outside, I'd be like, oh, is this a little bit too heavy for something like Eurovision? Because, you know, your first thought with Eurovision is ABBA, right? But knowing what I know about previous years and what I know about the European culture and how they embrace, you know, both classic metal and rock and also, you know, modern and contemporary stuff, it seems like it'd be way easier to get that across the line in something like Eurovision as opposed to something like if they had Australia Vision, you know? So yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it fares, but I think they'll do really, really well. I think they've got a big enough following to sort of at least carry them through and give them somewhat of an advantage, I guess. But then again, I don't know. A lot of times, like the entrant from Greece, I wouldn't know who that was. I probably have no experience with them, and maybe everyone in Greece would vote for them, or whatever, however it works. And all of the Greeks around the world. So I'd be interested to see how this pans out. But either way, at the end of the day, I had a great experience engaging with it on its own, in its own space as a music video for a rock band. And, these guys do a great job. And, I love that they're different. I love that they're kind of unique. Specifically, the vocalist is a hell of a character, So, and the transformation throughout at least the songs I've witnessed has been really, really interesting. So, I've seen they jump online and do a lot of Q&As and things like that and interact with the fans, which is always great to see. And also, they're known for jumping onto things like these reaction videos and saying thank you and giving back. And that's worth more than you can imagine for people like me. Because, a lot of times, a lot of the comments we get are very ephemeral. In my case, I get a lot of comments from people who just want to tell me all about the bands, which is what I'm here for, because I get my education from you guys. I don't know anything about Lord of the Lost, but you guys will tell me in the comments where they came from, what are their interests, who they're influenced by, all that stuff. And it's a great way for me to take my journey and just garner a whole bunch of information I've been missing out on all these years from the source, the fans, right? But occasionally when somebody like these guys or Blackbriar will hit me up in the comments and just say thank you, it goes a long way, because sometimes as a reactor, you feel like you're a little bit at odds with the artists because of so many things like having to skirt copyright and a lot of those things. And sometimes you feel like the artists may not necessarily be all that grateful. And it's up to them whether or not that's where should be the case. It's their material we're using. And while what we do, if we do it correctly, is perfectly legal and it's fair use, sometimes when an artist, or more specifically a label, I suppose, shuts down one of your videos, it does sort of sting a little bit. So when you get artists that are like, we understand the value of what the reactors do in spreading the message and things like that, it is actually it's really gratifying, to be perfectly honest. So thanks again, guys. If you feel like I brightened your day at all, feel free to support the channel just by buying me a coffee. I'll leave a link in the description. Or you can just hit super thanks under the video. If you like it, like, share, follow, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. But most of all, go vote for Lord of the Lost at Eurovision if you can. I don't know how it works. Like I said, we don't have Australia Vision. Although Australia's in it. We've been in it for a few years now. So thanks again, guys. Appreciate you watching and sticking around, and I'll catch you on the next one.